Gardening isn't exactly new. It's been around for thousands of years, but our ancient predecessors couldn't just head over to their local hardware store to pick up the latest non-slip grip whatevers. They had to make do with what Mother Nature provided them: sticks and stones and sometimes bones, which they often mashed together to fashion rudimentary tools for digging and reaping. But as time marched on, these simple tools began to evolve in some truly ingenious ways. Well, there were those that took a turn for the weird and slightly terrifying. From ancient bone-crafted blades to scythe-wielding war chariots. Yes, it's a thing. The history of garden tools is anything but ordinary. Some designs changed gardening forever, while others, well, just watch and see. Join me as we dig into the weird and wild and sometimes downright ridiculous evolution of garden tools and find out which ones are actually worth keeping in your shed. Since early humans weren't hitting up their local tractor supply for trowels, they used sticks for digging, and with the help of twine, these sticks could get pretty fancy. This early era saw the emergence of various gardening tools, such as the hoe and the garden plow. These instruments were crafted similarly, featuring shaped stone secured to a handle made of natural material. Effective? Kinda. Ergonomic? Probably not. By 3000 BCE, ancient Egyptians had upgraded to copper-bladed sickles, which are single-handed tools with curved blades, perfect for harvesting grain. They're still in use today, though not in your average backyard, but they are handy. Then came the scythe, and an extended version of the sickle with a long handle. Actually, while I was researching the history of gardening tools, I discovered that some ancient civilizations, most famously the Romans, attached scythes to the sides of war chariots, creating the terrifying scythe chariot. Yes, it sliced through more than just tall brush. Even crazier, Leonardo da Vinci took things a step further. Between inventing things like flying machines and painting naked women, he designed an updated version of the scythe chariot. This new design had the blades in front of the chariot, which spun like a lawnmower, but terrifying. Could this be where the idea of the lawnmower came from? Fast forward a century or so, and we got even more creative. Meet the Hori Hori, the Swiss Army knife of the gardening world. This soil knife, or weeding knife, is a beast of a tool with a heavy serrated steel blade that laughs in the face of hard dirt and stubborn roots. Originally crafted in Japan, this knife was used to gently unearth plants from mountainsides. And just in case you're wondering, hori in Japanese means to dig. The invention of the first cast iron shovel occurred not long after America was colonized. This shovel created, well, not this one, but the shovel created by John Ames consisted of a broad blade on a long handle, which is still characteristic of modern shovels. Naturally, gardening was very popular during colonial times, so new time-saving tools were constantly being invented and improved upon. Early on, budding and grafting knives, edging irons, and cultivating forks were invented. In fact, by the end of the 1700s, there was a tool for almost every gardening purpose. By the 1800s, gardeners were using pruning hooks and small pocket shears. That is, until Antoine-François Bertrand de Morville, a French aristocrat, had invented the first manual pruning shears. Oddly enough, he was inspired by the angled blade of the guillotine. Most of the hand tools used in the garden today were developed within the last 200 years or so. Early gardening tool catalogs listed hundreds of task-specific tools, including, but not limited to, dibbers, mattocks, potato hoes, onion hoes, daisy grubbers, claws, weeders, forcers, straighteners, garden row markers, garden reels, rakes, edgers, watering cans, water tanks, lawnmowers, lawn rollers, and weed whackers. Once the 20th century hit, garden tools started to get interesting, to say the least. The garden weasel, also known as the disc cultivator, became popular in the late 1970s. This thing will tear up some weeds, and by weeds I mean grass. Now, as with all great inventions, fads soon follow. Meet the garden claw. It's supposed to make tilling easier, but it feels like a 90s workout. Here's one for the history books: claw gloves. I feel like the inventor really just wanted to look like Wolverine. For the love of fingertip workouts, just use a trowel. Another invention to turn our digits into slicing machines. Behold the thumb knife, a blend of silicone and steel daringly married together in the form of a finger puppet wielding a knife. It's meant for picking fruits and veggies like strawberries, tomatoes, beans, and more. I'm not sure about you, but the potentially high amount of sweat pouring out of this thing in the summer heat concerns me. Today, your typical garden shed houses hoes, pitchforks, rakes, you name it. These tools even have several variations at this point, and some have created their own category. But do you need them in your tool shed? Here are my not so fancy but very efficient gardening tools. First up, what I use for digging. Here we have the round tip shovel for digging. Then we have the square shovel, which is also known as a transfer shovel. We have my short-handed shovel here for smaller jobs. Also, it is extremely weak and easily bent, as you can see, but a child's shovel can come in handy as well, especially if you have little ones and they want to help. Getting even smaller here, we have the garden trowel, normal garden trowel, but then you can see here this pointy one. This one is actually called a transplanter. Usually, a lot of them these days have inches on them, so you know how deep you're digging, and it's pointy, sharp, so you can dig into fresh soil. Next up, I have your standard leaf rake here, nothing fancy about it. For heavier materials, I use this bow rake here. It's excellent for heavy wood mulch if you need to spread that. Then also I have more of a cultivator than a raker. We have the disc cultivator that I mentioned earlier. If I need to do a bit more damage to the ground, I bring out this adorable gal. I love this blue. This is a gardening fork, but it's also known as a digging fork. Compared to pitchforks, the tines are thicker, heavier, sturdier. Next up, we have just hand cultivators, and I have them in different styles for various jobs. Smaller jobs, I would say, when I really need to get into it, I just got this bad boy. And here, I use this more of a mixer than really to cultivate. Sticking with the cultivating theme, I have here a garden hoe, the tool of the night. Wait, that's not right. Hoes come in a variety of styles. Here I have a digging hoe with a cultivator on the other side. For cutting, I have my standard hand pruners, and if those are too small, I go up to my cloppers. Yes, I know they're actually called loppers, but they make the clop sound when you use them, so I call them cloppers. If the branch is still a little bit too large or it's too high to get to, I pull out my tree pruners. I like this one. It has two different ways to close. You can also pull here. And if the branch is just too thick in diameter, I'll go for my sawtooth, my tooth saw. Now, if I'm cutting vines or I need to get into a tight area, I do use my garden knife quite a bit. It has been extremely handy, especially when it comes to vines. I use this notch here. It's not in all of them, but it comes in very handy. When it comes to cutting grass or tall grass-like plants, I do love to use my new sickle that I got from my dad. Thank you. It works surprisingly well. It is actually genuinely handy. When I'm not using this and I have to trim a few things, maybe with a more precise cut, I will use these here. They're just hedge shears. They work well for anything between grass and small twig, they'll cut. For cleanup, it is nice to have a broom, a push broom specifically. One thing that gets overlooked when it comes to gardening is a hand broom and a dustpan. Surprisingly, they come in very handy. Another thing that you might not have thought you needed in a garden is a sledgehammer. This is not actually the one I use. I have a smaller handheld one, but I'm pretty sure my husband stole it to take to his work. These are going to be great for installing temporary fence posts, such as this one here, and also any type of stake that you have to hammer in. Note, I would love to get a scythe. Once a crucial tool for harvesting grain, it has actually seen modern renewal and is getting hype from small-scale farmers and sustainable gardeners. But I'm not quite ready for the stares from my neighbors. So those are the tools that I use to keep my yard wildlife friendly. While there is a tool designed catered to pretty much any task, which may make gardening more efficient and accessible for everyone, you don't need all of these. So, which ones do you need? Well, if you're a new homeowner or just getting started, landscaping and sustainable gardening don't need a whole lot. I recommend getting these to get you started. Digging shovel, leaf rake, trowel, hand cultivator, and a push broom. Remember, you can get creative and be thrifty. Start with nothing more than a pointy stick and a seed if need be. And no, you do not need a scythe chariot or claw gloves. No one needs claw gloves. From sharpened sticks to high-tech ergonomic tools, gardening has come a long way. But no matter how fancy tools get, one thing never changes: the joy of digging in the dirt, growing something from nothing, and making a little patch of the world greener. So, whether you're using a centuries-old Hori Hori knife or some futuristic robot-powered garden gizmo, just get out there and start digging. In my next episode, I'll be jumping back into the science of plants and how what we plant this spring could affect our yard's atmosphere this summer. From temperature regulation to soil health and even the wildlife it attracts, every choice we make plays a role in shaping our little ecosystems. Stay tuned as we dig into the fascinating connections between plants and your backyard's climate. Thanks for watching.